Mary Hanson was a doll of a woman, small, beautiful, exquisitely made. On the outside, she was soft, southern helpless feminine, and on the inside, granite bitch. Jude had met her a week after beginning her husband's therapy. She had fought hysterically against it, and Jude had asked her to have a talk with him. Why are you so opposed to your husband going through analysis? He won't have my friends saying I married a crazy man, she had told Jude. Tell him to give me a divorce. Then he can do any damn thing he pleases. Jude had explained that a divorce at that point could destroy John completely. There's nothing left to destroy, Mary had screamed. If I had known he was a fairy, do you think I would have married him? He's a woman. There's some woman in every man, Jude had said, just as there's some man in every woman. And in your husband's case, there are some difficult psychological problems to overcome, but he is trying, Mrs. Hanson. I think you owe it to him and his children to help him. He had reasoned with her for more than 3 hours, and in the end she had reluctantly agreed to hold off on the divorce. In the months that followed, she had become interested and then involved in the battle that John was waging. Jude made it a rule never to treat married couples, but Mary had asked him to let her become a patient, and he had found it helpful as she had begun to understand herself and where she had failed as a wife. John's progress had become dramatically rapid, and now Jude was here to tell her that her husband had been senselessly murdered. She looked up at him, unable to believe what he had just said, sure that it was some kind of macabre joke. And then realization set in. He's never coming back to me. She screamed, he's never coming back to me. She started tearing at her clothes in anguish, like a wounded animal. The 6-year-old twins walked in, and from the moment on there was bedlam. Jude managed to calm the children down and take them to a neighbor's house. He was Mrs. Hans, a sedative, and called the family doctor. When he was sure there was nothing more he could do, he left. He got into his car and drove aimlessly, lost in thought, Hanson, and fought his way through a hell. And at the moment of his victory, it was such a pointless death. Could it have been some homosexual who had attacked him? Some former lover who was frustrated because Hanson had left him? It was possible, of course, but Jude did not believe it. Lieutenant McGravy had said that Hanson was killed a block away from the office. If the murderer had been a homosexual, full hatred, he would have made a rendezvous with Hanson at some private place, either to try to persuade Hanson to come back to him or to pour out his recrimination before he killed him. He would not have plunged a knife into him on a crowded street and then fled the world. A fag walk in here and find himself a handsome young doctor to tell his troubles to. His tone grew confidential. How do you mean to say that in 3 years on your coach, Hanson didn't get a little hard on you? Jude looked at him without expression. Is that your idea to being a man of the world, Lieutenant? McGravy was unperpetuated. He could have happened, and I'll tell you what else could have happened. You told Hanson you didn't want to see him again. Maybe he didn't like that. He had long depended on you in 3 years. The two of you had a fight. Jude's face darkened with anger. Actually broke the tension. Can you think of anyone who had reason to hate him, Doctor? Or someone he might have hated? If there's such a person, Jude said, I would tell you. I think I knew everything there was to know about John Hanson. He was a happy man, he didn't hate anyone, and I don't know of anyone who hated him. Good for him. You must be one hell of a doctor, McGravy said. Well, take his file along with us. No, we can get a court order. Get it. There's nothing in that file that can help you. Then, what harm could it do if you gave it to us? Asked Angeli. It could hurt Hanson's wife and children. You are on the wrong track. You will find that Hanson was killed by a stranger. I don't believe it, McGravy snapped. Angeli rewrapped and raincoat and tied the string around the bundle. Well, get this back to you when we run some more rest on it. Keep it, Jude said. McGravy opened the private door leading to the corridor. We'll be in touch with you, Doctor. He walked out. Angeli nodded to Jude. They followed McGravy out. Jude was still standing there, his mind churning, when Carol walked in. Is everything all right? She asked hesitantly. Someone killed John Hanson? Killed him? He was stabbed, Jude said. Oh my God. But why? The police don't know. How terrible. She saw his eyes and the pain in them. Is there anything I can do, Doctor? Would you close up the office, Carol? I'm going over to see Mrs. Hanson. I'd like to break the news to her myself. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything, said Carol. Thanks, and Jude left. 30 minutes later, Carol had finished putting the files away and was locking her desk when the corridor door opened. It was after 6 o'clock and building was closed. Carol looked up as the man smiled and moved towards her. He drove past Westport and Danbury, deliberately forcing his mind to concentrate on the ribbon of road that flashed beneath his wheels and the wintry wonderland that surrounded him. With a smile was preoccupied and distant. Family difficulties, Jude supposed. Usually Jude would chat with him about Mike's teenage son and married daughters, but Jude did not feel like talking this evening. He asked Mike to have the car sent down to the garage. Right, Dr. Stevens. Mike seemed about to add something, then thought better of it. Jude walked into the building. Ben Coates, the manager, was crossing the lobby. He was Jude. He saw Jude and gave nervous wave, hurriedly disappeared into his apartment. What's the matter with everyone tonight? Thought Jude. Or is it just my nerves? He stepped into the elevator. Eddie, the elevator operator, nodded. Evening, Dr. Stevens. Good evening, Eddie. Eddie swallowed and looked away self-consciously. Is anything wrong? Jude asked. Eddie shook his head and kept his eyes averted. My God, thought Jude. Another candidate for my coach. The building was suddenly full of them. Eddie opened the elevator door and Jude got out. He started towards his apartment. He didn't hear the elevator door close, so he turned around. Eddie was staring at him and Jude started to speak. Eddie quickly closed the elevator door. Jude went to his apartment, unlocked the door, and entered. Every light in the apartment was on. Lieutenant McGravy was opening a drawer and living room. Angeli was coming out of the bedroom. Jude felt anger flare in him. What are you doing in my apartment? Waiting for you, Dr. Stevens, McGravy said. Jude walked over, slammed and drawer shut, narrowly missing McGravy's fingers. How did you get in here? We have a search warrant, said Angeli. Jude stared at him incredulously. A search warrant for my apartment? Suppose we ask questions, Dr. McGravy said. You don't have to answer them, interjected Angeli without benefit of legal counsel. Also, you should know that anything you say can be used as evidence against you. Do you want to call a lawyer? McGravy asked. I don't need a lawyer. I told you that I loaned the raincoat to John Hanson this morning and I didn't see it again until you brought into my office this afternoon. I couldn't have killed him. I was with patients all day. Miss Robert can verify that. McGravy and Angeli exchanged a silent signal. Where did you go after you left your office this afternoon? Angeli said. On the corner ahead, he saw a phone booth and suddenly remembered that he had promised to have dinner with Dr. Peter Hadley and his wife, Nora. They were his closest friends, but he was in no mood to see anyone. He stopped the car at the curb, went into the phone booth and dialed the Hadley's number. Nora answered the phone. You are late. Where are you? Nora, Jude said. I'm afraid I'm going to have to beg off tonight. You can't, she wailed.